United States. Their father.
Ready to roll? Mr. Bordenaro?
Here.
Mr. Fernandez?
Here.
Mr. Grady?
Here.
Ms. McNair?
Here.
Mr. Olinda?
Here.
Mr. Paradis?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Do we have anybody on?
Jim is on, but
Okay.
he's there to answer some questions.
Okay, so there's,
A couple of updates if you want me to start with those very
Okay.
quickly.
sure.
First, the request from the PD. They are pulling together information both about staffing as well as overtime. And they will be here Monday night, your meeting at 7 o'clock to discuss that.
Okay.
Jim Simons, you see, is online. He's obviously instrumental in the vehicles. Also, there was an expansion or increase in the fire department programs to try to encourage volunteers and the quality of volunteers, as well as just generally the garage, general fleet questions and fire department questions. He's here tonight. He can be here Monday, but then after that, he's away. So if you guys have specific questions, I encourage either tonight or Monday to ask Jim.
Okay.
He is our expert on all of those areas. And then lastly, I left a piece of paper for you guys. Couldn't have come one day sooner. I wish I had it, but we did get the email from OPM, specifically the percentage that will be used for the municipal spending cap. I'd said it should be in the 2.5% to 3% range. It's 2.64. So on the back side of this page, I redid what was in your chart. Instead of 2.7, it's just north of 2.6 million of reductions that would be needed. And then I put the wording in there that applies to the statutes, which for every dollar you exceed the cap, you lose 50 cents of the grant. So basically, once you get to, it's a $258,000 grant. So once you get to just over $500,000, so we're over by 2.6 million. Once you're $500,000 or more over, you've already exhausted the full amount.
Okay.
So don't have to do that, but the grant is in the budget right now. So if we don't come down there, should either be removed or it's a risk as we go into the budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay. No, I don't see why we need to hold Jim all night. If we have any specific questions for Jim now,
No.
feel free to ask.
Going back to the police department, they're pulling all the budgets, you said, the overtime and everything, right?
They're looking to present, answer the question about the overtime, what is driving the overtime, as well as updating the staffing model. They shared the staffing model last year and they're updating based on all of the metrics that go into it.
Can we also get a breakdown of the shifts? Like how many officers are on the first shift, dispatch, everything, yeah. And if you get the numbers and how much a dispatcher can do between the fire calls and the police department calls, emergency and non-emergency. I know they have those numbers.
No, Jim, the one that's online. Yeah, I think that's question.
Thank you, Kev.
Well,
I would also be curious to know how our police department staff and our certified officers compares to surrounding towns. On a per capita basis.
Are you talking specifically like New Britain, Cromwell, Weathersfield, around that touches? Not New Britain, yeah.
New Britain, I'm not too concerned with, like Meriden, because the spaces.
They're massive.
More activity.
Yeah,
Typically, when we do comparisons of any type, we include Newington, Rocky Hill, even Cromwell, Weathersfield, Cheshire, reasonable size.
yes, okay, comparable, yeah, comparable.
Population, the number of officers per diem, or not per diem, per capita number. So we have some sort of errors because we seem to be very well staffed at where we are now.
Kevin, last year they gave us, this overtime information by month.
Yeah,
Maybe they can give us where we ended up in FY 24-25 and then where we are in FY 25-26 up to whatever January. So it's not.
can we also get an updated on the vehicles with the ones that we've ordered and what they'll bring us up to? With the orders we just made for the 9 vehicles, right?
What, 5 vehicles?
The 5 vehicles we just started.
Was 4 last year and 5 this year.
Yeah, 9, yeah. Because we got those vehicles after the numbers from last year, so it should be 9 with a new order to see what that brings us up to.
Hey, Jim, did you hear the vehicle request?
Yep.
Hi, Jim.
Hi there. How is everybody?
Good.
Good, bud.
Fantastic.
So the vehicles that are all on order, the vehicles that came in last year are going to be 3 vehicles in addition to, or with an addition to, the vehicle that was totaled.
Okay.
This year, which that vehicle just came in, and it's sitting at the garage right now waiting to go out for outfitting. The vehicles that are on order this year include 2 K9 cars and 3 patrol cars. Those vehicles, we have submitted the orders through our vendor to Ford, and we're waiting to hear back now if they've been accepted or not. And the reason why they may not be accepted is because Ford is limiting the amount of vehicles that they're purchasing, like they always do. But they seem to have a problem with a programming with the variable cams. So they're going to hold back on purchasing or building some vehicles. So even though we have submitted those vehicles for 5, I can't guarantee you we're going to get those 5 as 2026 or 27s.
Got it.
Jim, the ones we're getting are 25s or 20s that came in the batch of 4 from last year. I know you
Yes.
guys found a year delay.
Correct. There is one vehicle that is at the garage. It's brand new. That just came in. It's got to go out to be outfitted, but the rest of them are on the road. Correct.
Okay. Those were all police interceptors.
There were 3 interceptors and 1 expedition.
That's kind of an unusual vehicle, isn't it?
It was a request by the police department for the expedition. They currently have expeditions in their fleet. They're now we downgraded the expedition they have now because we are having problems with the turbos and idle time. So that went back to the training division. They requested an expedition, another unmarked expedition. Again, as I've said before, my job is to evaluate the request, make the purchase. They indicated that they had a need for that vehicle. That vehicle was purchased. How you're going to utilize it, I can't say.
I understand.
What is the purchase difference between an Interceptor and Expedition?
Cost wise,
Yeah,
it's a couple $1,000s. It's not a lot.
okay.
Have they corrected that problem with the turbos, or is that a long-standing issue? I know it's been a problem for years now.
That's a issue with idle time, and not only Ford, but the smaller engines where they increase the horsepower in them to bring them up to what a V8 would be and still get the fuel mileage. There is no real solution for that. It's just that it cannot be idle. It needs to be run. And they had the problem not only in Expeditions, but in, as you know, in F-150s, they had that same problem in other models that they had out there.
You do. Can attest to that.
It's an inherent problem from the 2016 model years forward. Where actually they made a lot of modifications to the engines, or not modifications, a lot of changes to the engines to get better fuel mileage for the EPA. And in doing that, they actually cause more problems for the engines themselves and became less reliable. And that's across the board, not Ford, but that's across the board to all brands. That's why if you go online, you look online, you see engines are blowing up in all the different categories, and they tell you that it's because of lightweight oil. They tell you it's for mismachining. But it really comes down to is the changes that were made in the engines by the manufacturers to meet the EPA from 2016 on up.
Yeah. EcoBoosts.
I have a 1.5 turbo Escape that my wife liked the color on, so I know all about that.
Jim, I have, I'm not sure if you handled building stuff too, the Timberland roof
I
maintenance
do not
building,
handle, no.
Art League building.
No, I do.
Okay, you're off the hook.
Equipment and vehicles.
Okay. All right.
And I'll be here on the side. I'm puttering out in the shop, so just give me a yell, I'll come.
We had another question, Kevin, on training, professional development. 2025, we went from $1,800 a sign. For that, we are at $104,000 this year. I know, that's all I know.
We consolidated 3 accounts, so organizational fees and professional fees, professional into training. We're trying to consolidate the budget down to where like categories aren't split out as much in the budget, and then we're using purchase orders within departments to split out and control the budgeting, so it's not quite as detailed. This has been a multi-year effort to see if there's areas for that. So if you look, you'll find there's a couple of lines that were zeroed out and all put together. And you'll see that throughout the budget. Some departments, it's more pronounced because, like in the case of police, there's considerable training, especially obviously new officers, but even ongoing. There are other departments where that the impact of that is much smaller because their budgets are much smaller for those areas.
Do you have a worksheet anywhere that shows salaries that are allocated between 2 budget accounts? Say nursing, there's something in public works, I think, where 3/4 of someone is in one department and 1/4 in another department. It is,
I mean, we have our budget model. It's a particularly ugly model, but it's a model.
I mean, I don't know how frequent those things are, but in going through some of the detail, I saw a couple things and it just started me wondering, are there other places where salaries are allocated? So when we do these analyses, it's a little harder for us to figure out, changes.
Generally, we're not allocating. The area we do allocate is into Department 61 for those that lend the support. And that's really because at the end of the year, we have to provide the services that the town provided to the schools. So then they feed into their EFS, their end reporting to the state for cost per pupil calculation and stuff. Historically, it would be a pretty extensive exercise to try to have every department break out how they spent their time in each of these places. And so about 4 years ago, we switched to budgeting it that way. So we did an analysis and said approximately how much time is spent. And you're right, when it comes to facilities, when it comes to public buildings, that's the biggest element there. Because they're spending about 70% of their time in the schools. It's not completely even. It's not like 70% of their time all year. If you think about it, virtually all of the public buildings' time is spent in the schools in the summer because it is a mad rush. When everybody's out of the building, that's when they try to get as much as they can done. So you're looking at close to 100% then. Winter break, spring break, same type of thing. You've got an opportunity, things need to be painted, things need to be repaired or changed. They jump on it during the breaks. So we did that break and now we budget it that way. We do have one top manager who is split, and that is the top manager who handles Parks and Rec, oversees Parks and Rec, Senior Center, Social and Youth Services, and Animal Control. I realize it's an odd combination. And so her salary is split, but again, that's done through payroll. So we have that opportunity. And we also have to split out the nursing, one for the schools, like we talked about, but also because we are required to provide a nursing cost study or Medicare at the end of every year because we bill Medicare we're required to submit that. And so we have to provide that information. And that's why we split it that way. Like I said, we have the model. Essentially, we feed the total into one and then split it from there and drop it down it's purely in Excel. So there isn't a spreadsheet showing that, but there is a spreadsheet where it's
Okay.
calculated. You can share it if you want, but I just forewarn you, it's very ugly. It's effective, but it's very ugly.
Thanks.
And the fire department, while Jim's here, just to incentivize him by giving gym memberships and then, also cancer screening.
I didn't quite hear that.
Oh, I saw in the fire department, Jim, that you, I'm sorry. In the fire department, you're, offering cancer screening for the volunteers or the firemen and then, gym, memberships. Yep.
A couple new things in the fire department. First one's cancer screening. We all, if you listen to any news, we all know that cancer runs rapid in the fire department because of the environments that they're in, because of the carcinogenics that we carry on our body. The state of Connecticut did bring out a cancer screening program. You had to meet a certain criteria for that cancer screening program. And unfortunately, most of the criteria that they have, unless you lie on the forms, a lot of people won't be able to do that through that screening program. And one of the biggest ones is you can't smoke for 15 years prior. And with that, how many younger people or even older people, how many of them don't have a cigar and sit around a bonfire at night somewhere through their life at some point? So with that, we went back to our medical doctors that we have, which is Hartford Hospital Occupational Therapy over in Plainville. We sat down with the doctors over there and they went to their cancer people. And we said, how can we bring the firefighters, how can we offer the firefighters some type of cancer screening if they want it and make this a volunteer program? And there's a couple different ways to do that. One is a full body scan. And that full body scan, they kind of said, full body scan is nice, it's quick, it's easy. But what they find is there's a lot of false positives with a full body scan because the body scan brings up a bunch of, I won't say growths, but masses, whether they be thick tissue or, previous injury scars. And they'll highlight those. And they said, that's probably not the best way you want to go. You probably want to go with some targeted testing, targeted doctor visits. And so they wrote up a program for the firefighters, if they so desire, to have additional testing done. We currently offer colon tests. But the additional ones will be some blood testing. It will be a skin analysis for skin cancer. Skin cancer happens to be one of the higher cancers, and some other ones. So for the amount of money that they gave us, and we also checked on having body scans in case the individual wants to have the body scan. We wanted to do this. And we wanted to do it as a volunteer basis. But in doing that, for a budget figure, especially for the first year, I budgeted for 100% of the firefighters going for this. So that's why it's a large increase. And I don't know if 100% of the firefighters are going to go for this, or a good part of them going to say, I really don't want to know. And I don't want to be bothered by it. But that's why that is in there.
Okay.
Just,
No, I mean, you answered my question in the beginning. I figured the state would sponsor something like this, and we're ending up having to pay for it, but you really answered my question early on. Thank you.
and
I have a question about the fire administrator. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Are you still the fire administrator?
Yes, they changed my title, but yeah, same job.
And this salary that's been there hasn't changed in how many years?
Well,
Since the
How many years?
creation?
since its creation, correct.
Okay.
And you wanted to know about the gym membership?
Yep.
So what we're finding is that the firefighters have to be physically fit and ready to go. And what we're finding is that the older members, I won't say let their bodies go, but they're not as physically fit as they were when they're mid
Come on.
40s. I'm there with you. Don't get it wrong.
Whew.
And the younger people coming in, unless they're athletes, in which I am very happy that we have the athletes come, a bunch of them coming out of football this year, coming into the firehouse. Unless they're athletes, they're not that physically fit, and their endurance and other things are down. So what we did was we went to a local gym, and I haven't signed anything with any local gyms yet. If it passes, we'll probably do a little shopping around. And I proposed to them, I says, I got X number of firefighters. I want to offer them a gym membership. But I don't want to give them a gym membership and have them run for the first 2 months and then cancel or not come back for the rest of the year, like any New Year's resolution. So what we did was we talked to the gym. I says, I want to be billed each month. So let's just say I have 30 members that go in the month of February. I get billed for 30 members. If I have 45 go in the month of March, I get billed for 45. But in the month of April, let's just say that it's spring break time or whatever, and they decide they're going somewhere else, and I get 15. I only want to be billed for 15. And the gym that we went to says, that's fine. We can do that because they'll all be issued a card and they'll punch in when they come to the door, and we can create those bills like that. So it's again, I can't just throw it out there and hope that I only have 30 members go when really I have 60 members go. So I had to budget for that cost for the whole bunch of 82. So that's why you see a larger number there.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We move on. I got a couple questions on the revenue side. On the town clerk fees. I was wondering if you can do better than that number.
Well, potentially, I guess it depends on home sales typically, and because
Okay.
the bulk of that is the conveyance. And what you've seen is a stagnation in the market as
Okay.
prices are up. If you look on Zillow right now, there's not a ton of inventory. And so we are seeing prices, staying high, but the transactions, I don't know. So it's something that we could.
Just looking at based on the current year, you're gonna have a good year, probably a lot more than what you're saying. If we just do a straight line projection, I don't know how to do,
We could, I
but
mean, do you have the current year?
you're at 285 through January.
Halfway.
So, and if you just straight line that, it's almost $500,000. So, but I'm not saying that's the right number. I'm just asking you
I mean.
if you could add 50K to the number,
could
that's fine,
probably do
whatever.
that. And I would feel, comfortable with. Yeah, the rates are going down.
And then the same thing on building inspection fees. Can you do a little better there too?
Well, we did go up
Okay, you went up. Yeah.
1,000. And again, we've talked a lot about this. I've asked the same question of our building official. We're looking at the same thing, any way we can increase revenue.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate over the past few years to have the number of permits and construction that has come in. Thinking ahead, I think the 950 is a safe number.
Okay.
Can it go up higher?
I think you'd be really stretching if you push to 1 million. these fees kind of lead. So if you think about tax abatement.
Okay, I'm just,
major
yeah,
projects, these are the leaders, and then the taxes after the fact are later on. So you're getting a lot of upfront on the development, especially on Farmington Ave and Berlin Turnpike, already baked in here.
okay. You know, to what Jerry was talking about, you know, when there's a change in salaries, we're not sure, you know, if it's one change or something happen or whatever. For example, in your finance department, under clerical, right? I don't know, there's a 42% increase under clerical, unless I misread that. But there's no explanation. That's why I'm not sure.
This is part of the reorg that
Okay.
Ryan referenced,
Okay,
that we're
that's what I
looking
thought.
at. We're looking at taking a professional position who handles a combination of HR type functions and payroll functions, bringing that down to a clerical position in finance to be the more tactical payroll person
Okay,
and a
that's-
variety of other technical functions. And then that new position moves over to HR. For purposes of budgeting, we moved the position, including prior year. You'll see there's a professional, but really, if you went to last year's budget, HR only had
Okay.
one
all
full-time.
right,
We
gotcha.
just reclassed it this year. So you're not seeing the down in
Gotcha.
finance, you're only seeing the up
Okay.
position.
All right, thank you.
Net, we tried to keep it as close to budget neutral. There's always that uncertainty if you have a new position you're hiring, you don't know what health insurance they're going to take. That is the one variable, but in terms of compensation, just wages, it's actually down year over year because of retirement and because of the savings we've had. That was our ultimate goal.
So I had another one here for the police department was this category in lieu of sick day retire rate. From 0 on 25 to 105,993.
We put that in every single year, starting, I'm going to say, probably 7 or 8 years ago now. Police are the only department in the town where if someone retires, so they meet the 20-year retirement threshold, they can be paid out for their unused sick time up to a ceiling and then a percentage of that time. So it's not unlimited. We include this because individuals who have been paid out for that typically are being paid out somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $25,000, because those who would be retiring now are under the old program, and we switched it 2 contracts ago, that it's not quite as beneficial to have the sick time. But they can get up to 400 hours. So it's 1,600 hours, but they get a quarter of those. So 400 hours. If you've been here for 20 years, even if you're a line officer, you're making base salary is going to be close to, if not over 6 figures at the top level. So if you're going to get 400 hours for that, I mean, that's almost a quarter of a year of a full-time employee. It's a decent amount of money. We've had people who have had $20,000 to $25,000 in one shot. So we put that in there with the assumption of basically a line officer and a sergeant and a lieutenant. We do have folks, lieutenants, one full-time detective is eligible to retire. We have a few sergeants who are eligible. So we have that in there every year. We were fortunate the last few years that those who have left have not retired. They actually resigned, which means they're not eligible for it. They didn't reach retirement. And we've been able to use that money to offset increases in overages in other places. And that's what we've been fortunate to use it for. I'm not sure we're going to be that way this year and for the next couple of years going forward, especially as we start to get into those who are in the new pension plan now hitting the 5-year mark and being eligible to retire. I think you're going to see people going, and that may actually be light. So.
Okay.
I got one. On the tech department. We have 2 mid-managers.
We actually have 3, but one is vacant. We're actively recruiting to backfill that.
All right, so that amount is for 3 mid-managers.
Yes. Well, actually, I say take that back. 2 mid-manager union and a top manager. We'll have a department head and then 2. Sorry, yeah, correct myself. It's 2 mid-managers and 1 department head.
How long have we been missing one?
6
August?
weeks, 8.
Oh, yeah, I guess 6, yeah, yeah. We're active,
August or 6 weeks?
well, the employee was on leave, so officially
Oh.
6 weeks.
So let's say that he's not been working since August because he's been on leave, right? Do we need a second mid manager?
Sorry?
Do we need a second mid manager?
The vacant position is actually dedicated to covering the police department. And what many years ago, we had 2 people in technology. And they covered all of the town resources as well as the PD. And the reality is, even before I arrived here, I mean, Denise would go back to that time. The reality was it was not adequate support for the police department. You have 2 things. One is you have a 24-hour, 365 operation. And 2, there really isn't the leeway to say we're working on it, public safety. And so having someone dedicated, not only because they can be on that, but because they know all the systems, they know everything that's happening there and everything. Yeah. So you really get that expertise. We're fortunate that we're able to go out and hire because the top manager was the person in that role prior to becoming the top manager and hiring the person who is no longer here. It might sound kind of convoluted, but basically he not only does he know all the stuff because he runs the department, but he had the
Right.
job. If it weren't for that, I think we'd be scurrying a lot faster.
So who's been doing IT since August? For the
It's
police
been
department.
Split among the top manager and the mid-manager.
Dave.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Okay.
They've been interviewing this past week and finalizing, but yeah, it wasn't even almost this entire year, due to various reasons. There was a shortage of staff, so getting that position filled is important. We've heard concerns from the PD that they are looking for that position back.
And the position has been posted. Number of resumes have come in and they're actively working through the candidates. So it is working through the process and everything. I think they're going to find the top manager, at last indications where he's optimistic based on the resumes he's received.
Question I know that on capital, we want to try to, leave it in the budget, but if we chose to reduce it somewhat, I know they're all priority ones. Do we just say we'll pick whatever we want to reduce, or do you guys want to look at it and say maybe these are top 6 or whatever? You don't have to answer that now. You know what I'm saying? But is there a priority 1A and 1B? I don't. That's like, but but they all look pretty important. You know what I mean? So, but just take a look at that, I guess.
You were in on the meetings, right? When we did the big
Oh, yeah,
meeting
yeah.
with everyone. So really that's what we used
Yeah.
to do all this. So it really is tough. I mean, there's
Okay,
there's
understand.
obviously limited resources and so
Yes.
but yeah, there's definitely 1As and 1Bs, I would say, if
7.
Other-
The classrooms for McGee. I presume they're a separate matter than this list.
Science classrooms. You actually, I actually emailed out the agenda today and on there is a transfer. We struggled with the 175,000 with the PBC to figure out how to give the money. So we went out to bid. PBC identified a very good firm and we've actually had it on hold for several months. They are willing to hold the price that they had quoted through the end of March. Council approved a transfer. We've had 4 previous projects that are either completed or near completed. So we've been able to cobble together some money plus what's still remaining in the Public Building Commission account. So you're going to see that transfer next Tuesday that we're asking you to approve. And once that's done, we'll then have the funding in place to be able to go award the contract and move forward with the architectural. The architectural really comes down to won't say a good number, but solid number based on what is really needed. The original estimate was we have 1960s science classrooms and we've identified the deficiencies and they gave a kind of a full picture of this is what you could and should do. This will be more of a true statement of need, in-depth review like we do and a lot of back and forth. The PD, for example, has been doing that with the architect on PD Part 2, and they go back and forth and try to settle. That's this phase right now. It's a critical phase because obviously that's going to go back to Public Building Commission and then ultimately will come to you guys and the council for, I'm assuming, bonding because we're talking 7 figures here to do 7 classrooms, very likely.
We don't know what that number is. I'll have a better idea after.
That is outside of the budget. We're looking to move forward as close as early as Wednesday. If you guys approve Tuesday night with the transfers, we'll have the money.
Yeah, I purposely had pulled that from, there was an agenda item back, I want to say August maybe. And just the sheer number of projects, I explained to the council that I know the council's prioritized the East Berlin pool and renovating the adding a splash pad there. So getting the design for that going was prioritized over the classrooms. And as Kevin said, the funds were limited after that. And so the Board of Ed was able to help us put some additional funds up, which is why we were able to
Bring
get this
this up.
going. Yeah.
You're also going to see a request. You're the last stage, request to use $80,000 of unassigned fund balance or the design work on the senior center parking. We basically had 3 projects at that point where there wasn't enough money to do all 3. As Brian said, the pool went forward. That was identified as number 1. This other effort has been made to bring together the science classrooms, and now we're asking to take money out of savings. You would have seen it on the risks and opportunities. I think I originally put it on there at 76,000, but it's actually going to be 80 is the request. Council approved that last night. So that will come to you guys next Tuesday. That's how we're trying to get all 3 of these projects done in a responsible way, but also move all of them forward. And this is just the design phase, but then you have real numbers to decide bonding moving forward or not, if that's the choice.
We do have grant funds for the construction of the parking lot, so it would only be the $80,000. There's a need at the senior center for additional parking, particularly additional ADA handicap space. And so I do coffee with the seniors once a month, and I hear it from them. And so we want to get that going. So
That's 80,000 to design.
Yeah. That's good planning, guys.
What's the grant amount with that we're looking at?
we got Kevin Lawson.
For senior center, we were looking at 228,000 was the cost estimate, and we're using LOSIP for that.
And what's our cut of that? How much do we have to apply towards that? Or is that 100%?
That's gonna be 100% LOSIP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Nicely done.
Any other questions?
In the transfers section, I just want to have a little discussion about a couple items, and see what the flavor is amongst the others and share with you where I am on it. One of the big items is the PBC, moving it from 175,000 to 400,000. I know you guys have indicated that there's a number of large projects somewhere on the horizon. I think I have a philosophical problem with some of this, and that is when we give them a big appropriation like this, 400,000 or whatever, the council can refer something to them to look at and go their merry way. And we really have no say in it. We'd have a say later on down the road, to do an appropriation, but, maybe we know we don't need to see what they're doing to not be in favor of such a project. And spending $150,000 to go down that road is not something you want to do. My,
The main idea behind it, which I don't necessarily agree with, is that it's for expedience. If grant money is available, we can act quickly on it.
not the PBC one.
This-
That's the local match.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. So no, I wasn't sure about that myself on the.
Well, I think last year when we talked about it, I think you guys identified what
Pulled
were
back.
a
I think we
couple
pulled,
of,
I think we pulled back last.
Did.
you identified a couple maybe items that they were talking about
Yeah.
that we had concrete,
Yeah.
information on or whatever.
Well, I'm not saying,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, I'm not saying give them nothing.
No,
But I-
175 is fine.
I was gonna say 175, 200, something, in that range. And along somewhat the same thing is the local match. That's in there for, I think, 100,000.
That's based on the idea that the state typically asks for 20% match. So if we were to pursue a $500,000 grant, which is common or more, the steep grant for the library community center was $1 million. The 20% would be $100,000. Internally, I will tell you that the request was actually to ask for more. That was actually ratcheted back, saying we may be able to get 2 or 3 $500,000 grants, but we're starting from zero, 100,000 in. That gives us something that can be used as a match against a $500,000 grant. The state often comes out with these grants with a pretty narrow window. Sometimes it can be 30, 45, or 60 days, of which that time is really spent putting the grant documents together, pulling together the materials that are needed, and working with the politicians who they're very positive on sending the letters of support and other things, which do actually seem to matter up in Hartford.
Here,
Can we, instead of having a budget item every year, I mean, put we portion part of the general fund for that?
Well, you could do that in this budget. You could add $100,000 of assigned fund balance and say, I'm not going to tax people. No, you would leave it in there.
oh, couldn't we take it out of contingency too?
You could.
Since that's coming from all out of fund balance?
You could. Oftentimes, these grants are coming in the fall. So legislative session ends, things open up. I don't think just look at this year alone. Typically you don't want to touch contingency in the fall because its biggest use is covering for over storms.
Hmm.
So you'd be using it in advance of what could be another year like this. In the past, have appropriated fund balance, and I know there's that balance of, well, what's the council going to do with it? Because you're not the only players. The council has done that in the past too, where right now the only appropriation is the $300,000 for contingency. Prior to this year, you had also done it with the closed pension plan, treating it more like debt service, pulling out of fund balance. But there are towns, in fact, Berlin has done this. When I first got here for the first several years, there was fund balance actually put into the budget. So rather than having to do a mid-year non-budget appropriation in a series of meetings, you said, let's budget it. Let's put fund balance in. So we're accomplishing the goal of getting the item in the budget. We're accomplishing the goal of not increasing the mill rate. And we avoid the, for a better phrase, administrative headache of having to go through multiple meetings, town meetings, and various votes, in addition to delaying something probably 6 weeks or more, potentially, depending on meeting schedules. That is something you could do. And if you're thinking you want to do that, and there's any concern with, well, what is the council going to do with it when they get the budget? That might be something to talk about at the joint meeting on Monday. This is something we're thinking about, if you are.
I would be way more comfortable with going that way.
The 400,000, just so you guys know, on page, we actually did the narratives on tab 3 a little different this year. So there's actually page numbers on page 177. It's basically at the very last page. On that page, the third one down is the PBC item that Jerry's referencing. We identified 4 projects we would like to move forward. There are a number of others, but these were 4 that were higher on the list. Town Hall front plaza replacement, that's the brick area out front here. There's leaking happening through the area. They did shore it up when they did the police station. when they did the locker rooms and stuff downstairs, but there was actually leaking coming through the wall. And the recommendation then was really need to look at this and re-slope it. Second is library bathroom renovations. This has actually been requested by a number of patrons. They're heavily used. At the bottom would be 177. Third was town hall window replacement. You talked about potentially wrapping in the police department windows into the police station project, but these windows have been identified for a long time. I actually was talking to somebody in their office today, and I looked out and I said, is your window leaking? There was actually fog coming up because the seal was starting to break. And then the last one was the Timberland on course bridges. So that one is actively being worked through, but it appears that that's probably going to cost more than $300,000 based on where it's moving. No guarantees, but
Yeah, but what's the difference between, you just mentioned that was the town hall renovation, the front was identified as one that was but that was deferred to future years in the capital.
it was deferred to future years. This would be money for PBC to hire design and architect and engineering so that in a year or 2 years, we could do the project.
Oh, all right.
That way we can go back with solid numbers to you guys.
So this number though, that's in the capital,
Is an estimate.
okay.
Yeah.
At 330 or whatever it is. Can't see if it's 330 or 250, but
Yeah.
so, but you don't have a figure as far as what it would cost if you leave it in the 400,000. You're not,
The 400,000 is for the engineer to
Money.
come in. It's to come in and design and say, this is what you need to do.
but it
Here's
is,
a good cost estimate, same project. What we're trying to do is, for many years prior, projects were not referred to the PBC. So internally, department heads were individually handling things. And what the council has started doing probably about 3 years ago is deferring a lot of projects to PBC. So the expertise can sort of quarterback the plan while the department heads are still actively involved doing a lot of the legwork. But in the process, they need to go out and hire architects or engineers to provide them the information they can then get back and look at it. This is trying to give them money for that. So then you have a good number as to decide whether you want to move forward or not. For example, there was discussion on the maintenance building at Timberland last year. Do we do the roof or do we just replace it? So you tabled it and said, let's figure that out. I know that several people went out, walked it, took a look at it, even PBC members, and said, you're looking at $1 million plus project here to replace this building with everything that's in here. And so we're circling back to say, okay, maybe that's not the path we go down. Let's do the roof and shore up. Because like any building, you want to have the envelope solid. Otherwise, you're going to have more problems down the line. And that's why you're seeing that circle back this year, because we have leaks. We really do need to do something with the roof there. It is more basic to the building. We're not looking for anything glamorous, just shoring up the envelope of the building.
Yeah, I probably should have seen the listing there, but I missed that.
There are a number of other items that we had that are on the list. And if you see the capital plan, if you look 1 year out, these are the bigger ones that we're looking for PBC. There's certainly other things like bridges and other things like that on there. But then as you go out to 2 and 3 years, that's what we want to do here. Similar to what we're doing with the McGee Science classrooms is, okay, we have a good estimate of the whole picture. Let's get somebody in here, really figure out the statement of need. Let's get a solid number. So then we can create bid documents, go out, and then you can make a decision based on what is it actually going to cost us, not just an estimate, but really what are the bids looking like?
What we saw this year was, as I mentioned, we wanted to do the East Berlin pool. So we did that first. We had $175,000 to work with. 100,000 comes out right off the bat. That's one project. And now we can't do the second one because we only have, let's say, 75,000 left. And so that's why the request is there. It's just the A&E for these projects is significant.
Well, knowing what the projects are means the whole world of difference. I was thinking more in terms of we're giving them 400,000 and as things were going to come up, but we've already got somewhat of a plan here of what's coming down the road. So that's a little different circumstance. But to go back to the grant one, I think the grant one still has some relevance to it. Do we also this is local match for grants. Is there also another one in economic development? Or,
There, I think there was, let's pull that up. A match, believe that was a match for the arts grant that we've been getting annually. Local grant match, it's $5,000.
oh, just 5?
That's $5,000.
Okay.
Chris Edge, as well as Carrie Tiska, who heads up the library director, they have worked together to secure an arts grant for the last 3 or 4 years. First year was only 1,000, but we've been able to get 5 to 6,000 each year, but that comes with an equal match from the town. Not a lot of money, but it has been used for supporting some programs in schools, senior center programs, as well as other things around town. There's a program they've got with benches walking from McClatchy down to Betts Park.
So for the 100,001, what's the process? I mean, they get a grant app in, and what is it? As long as they have an appropriation somewhere, this appropriation, they could then say yes. Or do they need an additional okay from someone before that match is applied?
If we have the funds available, we would, I mean, typically we have to have some kind of funds available to cover the 20% match typically. So what you see is a kind of a fire drill. They announce a steep grant, and I say to Kevin, okay, you know, where are we going to get $100,000 from? And then we, you know, I talk with the council about priorities. We try to figure it out, but we ended up having to take it from you know, fund balance and do a special town meeting, and this is just would help to lessen that burden.
Yeah.
The council has to approve every application for a grant. We have to ask the council for permission to apply for any grant, other than those that are given in the budget, like municipal grants in aid or town aid road, the LoSiP, they give us grants. We don't have to ask for those, but if we want to apply, anybody has to request permission from the council.
I'm just thinking back to our sidewalk grant of a couple years ago where nobody wanted to have anything to do with it. And,
That's
you
still
know,
out there too. So.
and those to me are the dangerous ones where someone could grab the ball and get rolling and say, yeah, we got $100,000 here. And, you know, where are we in the process? Well, we'll get our shot if an appropriation is needed after the council, but if, you know, it's late in the process, at that point, we've already spent $100,000 on engineering and architectural services and everything else. And,
well, typically when we go for these grants, we have already done the architectural engineering work because the state will require that we're far enough along and that we've committed our funding before they would award the grant. At $100,000, you're realistically looking at a $500,000 grant. It's conceivable we could go in and ask for $1 million grant and say we'll put up 10%, but the state kind of has points or rankings, and that would not help us compared to other towns that are willing to put up 20 or 25%. So typically we try to hit the 20% mark. That keeps us, that at least avoids us being uncompetitive from a local funding standpoint. We may be uncompetitive for other reasons or more competitive. And we were on the higher end for the library community center. We were one of the highest. The $1 million we received was one of the highest that the state offered for steep grants.
And I just heard we had a meeting on the connectivity grant that the town received last year, and they told us the same thing, that we checked all the boxes, which was, it's good to hear that, you know, when we apply for these grants, because we targeted school areas, school zones, and we got the grant because of that. So.
We understand that there's trade-offs. We're just trying to explain the
No,
logic.
no,
We're trying to do the best we can for the town and then also use this to leverage, but we do all understand. Like I said, the request was actually higher than 100,000. We said, let's try to at least do $100,000 and see if we can get that started.
And, you know, we could do it with reserves, as you mentioned, or if you want, we can do the fire drill. I mean,
Can we do a reserve that set aside and it can only be used for that grant type purpose, and that's it? Not a contingency fund where you can kick at it for this, that, and everything else, but just a set aside account that's specifically for this type of situation that comes up where we need money for a grant right away. And otherwise it just sits there.
We actually, this is in the transfer account so that it can be moved after the budget's adopted to the capital non-recurring. This account in the capital non-recurring fund, so it won't lapse and it would stay there. So if, let's just say we applied and we didn't get it, next year that 100,000 would still be there. You could either choose to appropriate more and say, let's build that up a little bit, or you could choose to say, let's leave it there and then tap into it if you need it next year. So that would be, that's the reason that's here, as well as the Public Building Commission is. We don't want to get into the practice of having to transfer in the middle of projects. It kind of avoids, or it eliminates the benefit of actually putting the money out there. But you could, if you want to use fund balance, my suggestion would be bake it into the budget and then you've got it there. You didn't raise the taxes and it accomplishes your goal of putting it in the separate account.
Yeah, that's.
Just the 100 though, right? Just the 100.
Okay, any other questions?
I'll check my notes. I got a few pages here.
Jerry's looking.
Yeah.
Aye.
Human resources, is that now, that's a full-time position with the town? Paid for, but that's no longer shared.
Right.
And does that include payroll? Is that the
No.
professional personnel? Is
Oh,
that
the professional one,
Yeah,
the professional person is the one who is doing HR and benefits functions today and payroll.
so that's in addition to the director of HR.
Yes, it would be a second full-time HR person. And when I say, I'm saying that we'd split payroll out, but there's still payroll elements.
Or the finance.
Payroll execution will be under finance. One of the things we're very careful on is, from an internal control perspective, who can actually set up and who can pay. So this actually will help enhance. We've never had a problem, never had an issue. We have extensive reviews. But we're going to move the setup of new employees, put that into HR so that they wouldn't be, HR would not be able to execute payroll. If you think about worst case scenario, you made up an employee. You could do that, but you wouldn't be able to pay them because finance is reviewing it. Finance can't create a person and pay them, but actually increases roles that way.
But so that's a 1.5 person department.
Two FTEs. What'll happen is the part-time person who's there, that position will be eliminated and it will be 2 full-time in HR.
There's also that part-time position that would be eliminated within the finance department as well. So that's reducing 2 part-times for 1 full-time benefits coordinator position.
Right now, there's periods of time where HR can be pretty frantic. We've got several contracts up for renewal. There are any disciplinary matters, and I'm not talking like terminations, but
Sure.
any issues that come up, a grievance, any issue they have to deal with has to be documented thoroughly, if for no other reason than to protect the town's interest and to be fair to employees. And then you just have the routine ongoing questions. I have a benefits question. I have a payroll question or something they want to do. And you basically have one person and then a part-timer. The part-timer is wonderful, has a tremendous HR background. It's 12 hours a week. So you're talking approximately a third of the week. So she's wonderful, but you can only get so much out of a third of it.
The need is there. That's one of the things that I've identified. It's yeah.
There was an item in the general government staffing report that you gave us yesterday, Ryan, where there's one part-time position shared with existing Timberland with public grounds. Can you talk about, is that new or?
So yes and no. So there was a position at Timberland previously that is currently unfilled. It's budgeted, but it's not.
As what?
The part-time clerical position who helps
Oh,
with purchase
clerical.
orders.
Oh, this was the secretary that used to be out there. Okay,
It's modestly, it was always paid modestly above
Okay.
minimum wage.
all right. I thought it was a person. Okay,
So,
2 days a week.
yeah.
The person was
I
working.
didn't realize it was a clerical.
so the thought is to bring that position back, but also tie it with a position with Parks and Grounds, where there's an employee that works 1 day a week at Parks and Grounds right now. However, what we've seen is that it creates another problem with Parks and Recreation, where that employee works for the other 4 days of the week. And what you have is you have our Parks and Recreation director who's continually asked for more help. And I said, well, I can't get you a new position, but maybe I can get you 1 extra day a week of help. And to do that, we would just add this part-time position. So it's not a big hit to the budget by any means, but it solves some additional problems and gets some help. And it's not, I don't think that everybody, they're happy working where they're working, but this is for the greater good to get.
'Cause that position was gone last year from the golf course budget.
Correct.
No,
But it's in the budget,
Position was in the budget, but it wasn't filled.
not filled.
Okay, all right, I see.
But I think the
remember
need
no,
exists
no cost. Okay,
Timberline for that position.
okay.
And it would help to free up the director of golf for more, higher level operation is part of the intent with that.
Okay.
Okay. Um,
I have a couple questions, but I don't know if you guys would have to do it. It's about the roof project on the maintenance building and the Art League building. Well, I, number one, the numbers that are in the budget, are they like out of the year numbers, or do we actually have estimates or anything to base those numbers on? And to what extent on the Art League building is 150K going to do? And how will the building be used afterwards?
I don't even know.
I will, the idea of the idea for the Art League building is a fraction of what needs to be done. A couple of years ago, the town did an extensive study, went out, tried to secure a grant. When the work was done, it was determined it was over $1 million worth of work is needed for that building. This request is really similar to what is being done at the Meeting House. It's about painting. It's getting rotten wood off and replacing it. It's trying, again, we're talking the shell here. We're talking trying to keep the envelope of the building solid. It is not renovating that building. It is the exterior, really.
Is it a historical structure
I've heard it described as it's a
where we might be
structure, but
prohibited from taking it down?
no, it's not on the
Building
That's
of
the
interest
best way to describe it.
Is there just?
by certain people?
It's a way to get more people at the meetings.
There's stuff in there. My understanding is it's also the bathrooms that are used if somebody is up using the playground. They can use that.
The building is open?
It's used for storage by the garden club. And then I believe folks, adults and children who might be at the playground that's up there could use it. I don't believe it's on the historical register, but it's an old building that a lot of people like. I don't
Okay.
know how else to describe it. I mean, I don't.
Yes. I'm off with a town meeting house on the Worthing Bridge, but
Yeah.
you just gotta draw a line somewhere. That building is just not ever gonna be anything.
I think the town will have to make a decision at some point because it will become a risk, especially
Yes.
next to the playground. So if the decision is we don't want to repair it, then I think the town's going to have to take a look at options. Because it's just going to be unsafe, especially having children play over there. You can kind of tell adults don't go in this area, but little kids,
Yeah,
they don't listen.
and it's to put $1 million into that building.
Nobody's asking for the million,
No,
but
I'm
this
saying
was,
ultimately,
yeah, oh yeah.
no justification for putting 150,000 in.
Then I think it's
Exactly.
probably a discussion of putting some money up to have someone, architect, engineer, I don't know what it is, decide what can you do and how do you go about doing that? It took us, I mean, almost the whole time I've been here, it was just this past year, we took down the caretaker's home at the mobile home park. So we're probably looking at an odyssey in front of us for something to come down. And that was, nobody was in it or using it. And it took probably close to 10 years.
It came down quite a bit. number.
It wasn't,
Oh, really?
it wasn't as bad as anticipated. And we also were able to use town staff grounds, did a phenomenal job of going back in, backfilling dirt and making the area a little bit better. So if that's the path that you think is more appropriate, then it's probably worth going back to the council and saying, this is what we're thinking, and
That was very hard.
pursue other steps.
Because he's very knowledgeable in that. And when he got the first number, he went,
Yeah, it was.
no, it's not.
He was actually helpful with,
Yeah, he's
do that, yeah.
He'd probably be very helpful on this one too. If that's the path the town wants, I mean, I'm not wed to the building. I'm just telling you why we're putting the number in.
Yeah,
Town council has to have a discussion on that.
Yes.
That's why I don't. think
No,
Plus, they need a storage building for the kids at the playground. I'd be more inclined to getting rid of what's there and putting up an actual with a couple of bathrooms and a little,
Like they have at Timberlake.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a little block building like they have at a beach or something like that with a couple of bathrooms.
We're talking like Sage Park type setup, something like that. Yeah. Or what we're doing out at East Berlin.
250,000.
There's those too. The portlets around town.
Spend more money and do that. And put $150,000 into $1 million
Well, because
building that's gonna fall down.
2 years from now, they'll say, well, you just put 150 in. You don't want that to go to waste. You
So I
know,
guess that's an answer to one item for your question earlier about capital. It sounds pretty, there's a pretty strong consensus on that one.
You know, grand opening over there, you know, it's $100,000 to do a quick paint job or was it 25? We're right. I want to spend $100,000 this year and in 2 years have everybody saying, hey, all the paint's falling off the building. You guys spent $100,000 on that.
It's because we used the bad paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put good paint on bad paint. Well, that's results.
On Home Depot. I'm with you. I think we spent about, what, $500,000 right now between the two buildings? Between purchasing the farm and yeah, come on.
We got the farm we saved. That's fine.
Well,
So-
no, but in 2 years, you
Well,
might have to fix it, you might have to fix the barn, you might have to cut the grass, and you, like,
Yep.
it's.
That's gonna be taken over by that's not gonna be run through the town. No, they've got a whole setup for that.
This you know what it reminds me of, is when they cut down all the trees in Winton Ridge and had to replant them. Remember that?
Worthington Ridge.
Remember that? They had to cut the trees off because the power lines, but we had to replant the trees? But it wasn't a town business, it wasn't a town problem, it became our problem.
Long to cut those trees down was the problem.
Okay,
I have one, one more.
Grass.
no, go ahead, whatever you need.
School expenses. I just wanted to talk, we had talked individually. The electricity line going from 990K to 1.2 million. I mean, it's a crazy increase. Can you just talk a little bit? Someone had talked at one time about more utilization of the schools after hours, which was increasing costs. Is that correct?
There is more use.
And let me throw out the last of it so you could respond to all of it at once. The question that goes along with it is, if there's a lot of stuff going on after hours, do we ever charge a fee for people using the buildings and, electricity, whatever? And if yes, where is that money going?
I'll answer the last one first. If it's non-school related activities, yes, we do. There is a building rental fee. It goes into two parts. So it's paid to the Board of Education. The piece for renting the building comes to the town, and you would see that in other revenue, the revenue side in there. We don't budget for it because we just have no idea who's going to use it. And this might be I have daughters, so I'm familiar with the dance recitals that they have. They rent the school auditorium and they go there. They pay for that. The other part of it stays with the Board of Ed to compensate them for overtime on custodians who are running through the Board of Ed budget. So that's how we handle that piece of it. If it's school-related activities, and for example, when Berlin High School reopened and it was brand new, it's a phenomenal facility, and people want to use the great facilities, from the auditorium to the gyms to all of the parts, and that results in higher usage. The other piece to that is a couple of years ago, we renewed the contract. So we lock in a generation charge. We try to lock in a low rate. We actually went out to bid 3 times because we weren't satisfied with it. And by the 3rd time, we were getting near the end of our contract and we signed up for a 3-year agreement. But it was higher than what we'd had. We were paying about 7 cents per kilowatt hour and it had gone up to 10 cents per kilowatt hour. The first time we went out, it was closer to 15, then it was 12, then it was 10. We toyed with going back out again. The problem was if we went back out, whatever we got at that time, that we were stuck with it. So it was rolling the dice. That's the other part, is even the guaranteed amount is just higher than what we've been paying. If you're looking for money and you're saying, hey, I need to shave something out of here, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's scientific. It's not like a contractual wage and I can tell you what we're paying someone. You know, could you take 50 or 100,000 out and if necessary, sort of roll the dice because you have contingency? You could do that.
The actual last year was closer to what you, well. I guess you're not-
1.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I say 50 or 100,000 and say, is it going to be reasonably flat to 25 actuals? You could make that argument and contingency is there. We likely will have staffing vacancies and things that could potentially cover that. So if you felt like, you know, you wanted to take that down a little bit, that wouldn't be totally unreasonable. I think if you went beyond 100,000, now you're basically going below 25, and I don't think that's reasonable.
But didn't we had discussed this issue a few years back.
4 years ago.
And this was a matter of going by the schools and the lights were on all hours of the day and night.
Yep.
And we bought a system.
Yep.
That was supposed to go in and monitor that and shut these lights off and reduce the power usage. Yet here we are spending more money than ever after we bought the system to reduce the amount of power being used.
It's reducing when the building's not in use, but it doesn't, you know, it's, I don't know how many of you follow hockey, but it's not like UConn playing at UMass where they shut off the lights when you're about to win. If they're in the school, I almost shot as a hockey fan. They're in using the building. We don't just shut the lights off in the auditorium and say, get out.
Go by the year ruler at night in the winter time and 9 o'clock at night, whole place is lit up like a Christmas tree.
And we did that in BHS. You're right.
We're supposed to shut these down. I mean, back in the old days, you know, when we did things all the wrong way, the janitor will go around and turn the switches off.
We did put that system into BHS and the line right below electricity, the lighting control upgrades. This year, we are actually, it's being paid off this year, which is why it went from 52 to 34 to 0. We are doing that. I would have to defer to Doug and to the facility, the custodians who are there, facilities crew as to actual utilization, but they did put all of that in. But I do know that people are using it. And I mean, you saw it. We tried to get the 31st and we couldn't because there's a play or a musical going on there. They're using the school many, many nights. It's a fantastic school. They should use it.
I don't mind it being used. I'd just as soon it be used, you know, yeah.
And that is the purposes of the lighting control upgrades when they're not there, but they are there a lot.
We had the men's league.
That couple.
And we played in the high school but we paid a fee. And we played basketball and, you know, that's how it worked. And then they stopped that forever. I guess, I don't know if they're doing it now or not. That's a good thing.
A lot of it is the students and the activities.
They do. So, for example, like Evan goes for basketball like 7 o'clock at night at Griswold. Then they have basketball at McGee at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, whatever it might be. I know the wrestling, Evan did wrestling Tuesday and Thursdays at McGee until like 8 or 9 o'clock. I'm not sure now, 6 to 9 or 7 to 9, whatever it was. It's being used, but the lights being shut off and go walk out.
Yeah, turn the lights off.
Turn the lights off, flip the switch. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
Okay. I think, any more questions? I think we're good. We're gonna ponder all this over the weekend. And we can, you know, get to the real meat on Monday.
I'll circle back with the PD on the items to make sure. I know they've been working on it. They originally wanted to come tonight, but realized they wouldn't be able to get the information together that they wanted to pull together to give you an informed response to your requests. So they asked us.
Meetings back too about the overtime, and if they could give us a breakout between mandatory and discretionary as far as the training and how that affected the overtime, because I'm sure they have to backfill every time they send somebody for training or somebody chooses to go for a training that they want to go for, that position has to be back.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, and whoever is like, who's on leave, like, is it paid leave? Is it like, most of these guys that do OT if someone's on leave, right? Presumably. Like, we should have those details.
Yeah.
And how many department heads are in the PD? It's the chief, it's Drew, right?
That would be I would be interested in seeing that breakdown too. I'd like to see, patrol division, the number of officers.
Yeah.
Support division and administration.
Yeah.
How those numbers are broken out.
We didn't have everything.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna be a pain in the ass and say, I'd like to see 5 years of that.
How many years?
5 years.
I thought you said 65 years. I'm like, Jesus. Since you're like, you're.
You got a PD 65.
We there.
Kanupka and.
Oh, vegetables. I want to see the encyclopedia throughout the years.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Could you just check with Doug on the Timberland building as to whether that's a good number or a wild number and what they think? Well, I hate to have him come out for one question, you know.
Yeah.
Get some more.
That'd be okay.
Yeah, give me on.
Yeah.
So on Monday, there's that combined meeting with town council and at 5.
And our meeting's at
I
7?
mean,
Yeah.
some of us have
I'm,
jobs.
I'm gonna,
Just bring that out there.
I'm definitely, I'm gonna do Zoom Monday.
Yeah,
Well,
7.
there's,
For that one.
you can,
ESPN, that's not.
they can do Zoom if they
Oh,
want on
absolutely.
Monday.
Say that out loud in the recording.
I'll probably come for our meeting.
Yeah.
And I did, it's on the town website and I sent all of you an Outlook link with the Zoom
only have
link if you want to do for 5 o'clock as well. It's actually the same link as what we have
Yeah.
for 7, but
So if you want to do Zoom, you can do that on Monday too.
yeah, you wanted to do by Zoom and not come in.
Yeah.
Or if you're at work or something and say, I can't get there for 5 o'clock, but you.
Who's coming? It's us, town council and board of education.
At 5.
Do they have are they gonna speak and say this is what we want?
Yeah, I mean, the focus is what their priorities are. I mean, even though we have a budget already, it's just,
It,
I mean, it would say like, I wanna keep all the staff.
You're
Well,
gonna
that-
give us input on, what they're looking for. But,
the Board of Ed or the town?
Town council.
I mean, to me, I don't know why the Board of Ed is coming. It's not in the charter. Well, we could ask the Board of Ed questions anytime we want, but to hear their priorities, which it says that's what we're doing, it's like, I don't care what the Board of Ed priorities are.
This was an ask, so this was an ask by the mayor to put this meeting together and from my understanding, it's happened in the past where all 3 boards get together just to discuss priorities and.
I would see I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would see the value of it on March 2nd. As soon as we have what they want on paper, at that point, all I care about is us and TC.
Yeah, I don't want, I mean, to sound like I don't care what their priorities are, but we're looking, I look at their budget in a different way, all right? They present to us everything that they say they need to do. They don't tell us programmatically how they're doing it. So now are they going to come and say, oh, well, you know, I'm doing this program and that's very important to me and this, well, the budget isn't broken down necessarily that way either. And my responsibility is to come to a bottom line number that I think they need to function and do their job correctly for the town. And I'm not doing that by saying you need this program or that program or whatever.
This is between us and the town council, and the Board of Ed is there really to answer questions, should one arise.
Okay?
yeah, I mean, I think in
Yeah.
the past, we tried to have this meeting before the budget got released.
It should be. It should be.
So-
Yeah.
so,
We had
Yeah,
It got
yeah.
rescheduled,
yeah.
so.
Okay,
Okay.
great. I have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.